Jelly Roll's transformation is truly insane. Have a look. In January 2024, Jelly Roll stood on stage and made a promise to 20,000 fans. He was 563 pounds and said he'd be half that size in a year. People laughed. They didn't know he'd already hired 3 trainers, 4 nutritionists, and spent $500,000 on a mobile cryo chamber. 6 months later, he'd lost 150 pounds. But the real transformation started much earlier. This is the story of a drug dealer who overdosed twice, spent years in jail, and somehow became country music's biggest star. Jelly Roll was born as Jason Bradley DeFord on December 4, 1984. He grew up in Antioch, just outside Nashville, Tennessee. It wasn't a nice place. Crime, drugs, and poverty were everywhere. His home life wasn't much better. His mom, Donna, had serious mental health problems and was addicted to drugs. His dad, Buddy, ran a meat shop but also worked as a bookie for illegal gambling. That meant he was often gone. Jelly Roll, the youngest of 4 kids, was left in the middle of the mess. His mom gave him the nickname Jelly Roll because he was chubby. No one thought that name would one day be famous. Even as a child, he was drawn to music. He wrote his first rap at just 9 years old, but the streets of Antioch had a stronger pull. By age 12, he had seen drive-by shootings and lost a cousin to gang violence. He barely went to school. He once said he didn't know a single person with a regular job growing up. Most people he saw survived off crime or hustling. By 14, he could name dozens of drugs and their prices but couldn't do basic math. That same year, at 14, he was arrested for the first time. He got caught stealing cigarettes and marijuana. It was the start of a pattern. For the next 10 years, jail became a second home. But during those years behind bars, something unexpected happened. On September 3, 2000, while locked in cell Block D at the Davidson County Juvenile Detention Center, Jelly Roll picked up a pencil he wasn't even allowed to have. On the back of a commissary form, he wrote his first full rap song. He was only 15. Music gave him an escape. He wasn't rapping about parties or cars. He rapped about pain, about Antioch, about the truth he lived. He admired rappers like 36 Mafia and UGK, artists who kept it real. By 17, he had written over 100 songs, all while doing time. Then in 2002, something changed. At a talent show held at Woodland Hills Youth Center, he performed a song he wrote called Streets Don't Love Nobody. A music teacher visiting the center heard him and saw real talent. They helped him record his first demo tape. He borrowed whatever equipment he could and laid down 5 tracks. It wasn't polished, but it was powerful. That demo became his first step out of the darkness. In 2005, Jelly Roll made his first mixtape. He called it Halfway House. And he recorded all 18 songs in his mom's basement in Antioch. The songs were about his rough life and dreams of something better. One track, Hate Goes On, caught people's attention. It started playing in local clubs and on the radio. On 101.1 The Beat, it was played thousands of times within just a few months. Jelly Roll didn't have any big money behind him. He had only $500 left, so he used it to make 1,000 CDs. He sold them wherever he could, at gas stations, barber shops, and from the trunk of his car. Another song, Think I Give A, __, featured a local rapper named Haystack. The music video for it got thousands of views on YouTube. People were starting to take notice, but behind the music, his life was full of chaos. Drugs had been a part of it from the start. By 12, he was already drinking and smoking weed. At 13, he tried cocaine. By 15, he was selling drugs to survive and help his mom. First it was weed, then cocaine and pills. His name became known on the streets. His addiction got worse with time. At 18, he was taking a dangerous mix of drugs every day, cocaine, Xanax, codeine. Then in 2006, everything almost ended. He overdosed after mixing cocaine, MDMA, and alcohol. His heart stopped for 2 full minutes. Paramedics saved him. He lived, but even that didn't stop him. He kept using. It wasn't until he landed back in prison in 2008 that something finally shifted. He joined a 12-step program. He started writing music not just for success but to stay alive. Music became therapy. Then came the big break. In 2009, a rapper from Memphis named Lil White found Jelly Roll's 10-minute freestyle on YouTube. He reached out. They made a song together called Pop Another Pill. It dropped on April 20th, 2009. Nobody expected it to blow up, but it did. Millions of people watched it online. Suddenly, Jelly Roll wasn't just a local act anymore. Along with Lil White and another rapper named BPZ, they formed a group called SNO, short for Stoners Night Out. In 2011, they released Year Round, an album produced by DJ Paul and Juicy J from 36 Mafia. The album even landed on the Billboard charts. Still, Jelly Roll didn't slow down. From 2005 to 2015, he released 27 different projects, mixtapes, EPs, and albums. He was always working. He toured constantly. He shared everything on YouTube. Fans connected with his honesty. He even started doing meetups at Waffle House restaurants. People would drive for hours just to meet him. These meet and greets became a big deal. They weren't just events, they were moments fans never forgot. Jelly Roll didn't just want to make music. He wanted to make people feel seen. He talked about his struggles so others wouldn't feel alone. "Music saved my life," he once said. "And now I'm trying to use it to save others." In 2013, Jelly Roll was getting ready to release a new album. He planned to call it Whiskey, Weed, and Waffle House, a fun nod to the southern restaurant he loved. But just weeks before the release, on July 15th, everything changed. Waffle House sent him a legal warning threatening to sue if he used their name and logo. It could have ruined the whole project. Instead, Jelly Roll turned it into a moment. He renamed the album Whiskey, Weed, and Women and slapped a giant cease and desist stamp on the cover. On the cover, it was bold, funny, and smart. People noticed. The album dropped on August 6th with 22 tracks that blended hip-hop, rock, and country. Songs like Creature and Sunday Morning stood out. They were raw, emotional, and full of grit. The album entered the Billboard R&B/hip-hop chart at number 50, selling just 1,000 copies in its first week. That might not sound like much, but for an independent artist, it was a big deal. Fans loved how real it felt. The title track didn't chart, but by 2024, it had over 15 million streams. It became an underground anthem. Still, Jelly Roll's mix of styles made things complicated. From 2013 to 2020, he kept putting out music, but no one knew exactly where he fit. One year, he leaned into country and outlaw rock, like with Waylon and Willie in 2016 alongside Struggle Jennings. The next, he returned to polished hip-hop with A Beautiful Disaster in 2017. He had no single box to stay in, and the music industry didn't know what to do with him. Radio stations didn't know which playlists to put him on. Streaming platforms couldn't label his sound. Record labels didn't want to take the risk. It left him feeling invisible. In 2019, he told Billboard he felt like he didn't belong anywhere. "I'm too country for hip-hop and too hip-hop for country." He said it's like being musically homeless. That rejection hit hard. In 2018, he came close to walking away from music altogether. Then something changed. He met Brantley Gilbert. The country star didn't just listen, he gave him a path. Gilbert told him to lean into what made him different, keep the sound but honor the country roots. That moment lit a fire under Jelly Roll. It led to Ballads of the Broken in 2021 and marked his breakthrough into country music. Finally, he had found a place where his voice mattered. But music wasn't his only fight. Behind the scenes, Jelly Roll was battling addiction. In 2024, on a podcast, he opened up about the darkest parts of that struggle. Back in 2012, he was spending more than $1,000 a day on drugs. Then came the overdose. July 15, 2013, heroin and fentanyl almost killed him. It took 3 doses of Narcan to bring him back. After that, he tried to stay clean. He managed 18 months of sobriety, but in 2015, he relapsed. He kept trying. In 2016, he checked into a 90-day rehab program. In 2018, he did outpatient treatment, but the cravings never fully went away. Then in April 2023, just as his fame was peaking, the pressure broke him. He relapsed again. For 37 straight days, he used cocaine. He called it one of the lowest points in his life. But on May 17, 2023, he decided to fight back. Since that day, he's been sober. As of January 2025, he's 20 months clean. Therapy, 12-step meetings, and support from his wife, Bunny XO, have kept him grounded. He carries a sobriety chip everywhere he goes, and he tattooed his sobriety date on his wrist to make sure he never forgets. In 2020, Jelly Roll's life took a turn he never expected. On June 26, he released a song called Save Me. At the time, he was in a dark place. His father had just died. The world was shut down from COVID-19. He felt alone and stuck. People were wiping down groceries and staying inside. And Jelly Roll was sitting with his pain, trying to make sense of it all. He poured everything into that song, no filters, no fancy production, just raw emotion, and people felt it. You could hear the truth in every word. The acoustic version went on YouTube and quietly exploded. By 2025, it had over 200 million views. Messages started pouring in. People said Save Me got them through addiction, through depression, through losing someone they loved. The song became more than music, it became a lifeline. The sound of the song was also unique. It felt like country but carried Jelly Roll's hip-hop roots. A little bit of rock, a little bit of soul. It didn't fit neatly into any one genre, and that's what made it special. It reached fans across all kinds of music tastes. It even showed up on country, rock, and hip-hop charts at the same time. That almost never happens. All that attention started turning heads in the music world. Record labels saw something big, and on September 9, 2021, Jelly Roll signed a major deal. He joined BBR Music Group's Stony Creek Records. He was 36, tattooed rough around the edges, a guy who had done time in jail and built his career from the ground up. He didn't fit the usual country image. But the label didn't care. They saw his heart, his talent. They believed in him. The deal was massive, $3 million for 3 albums over 5 years. It was one of the biggest contracts ever offered to a new country artist. And for Jelly Roll, it was the moment everything changed. After years of grinding alone, someone finally backed him all the way. Just 8 days later, on September 17, 2021, he released his first album with the label, Ballads of the Broken. It was personal and honest. Every track felt like a page from his life. He sang about addiction, mental health, and fighting to get clean. The music blended country, hip-hop, and rock, just like his story. 2 songs stood out. Dead Man Walking climbed to number 1 on the rock charts, and Son of a Sinner touched fans with its brutal honesty. The album landed in the top 10 on Billboard's country chart. In just the first month, it got over 100 million streams. People weren't just listening, they were connecting. Jelly Roll didn't stop there. He shared behind-the-scenes stories on social media. He talked to fans. He opened up. He made people feel like they knew him, like they were part of his journey. Critics praised the album too. They called it one of the best country debuts in years. Not just for the music but for the way it broke the mold. In 2023, something big happened for Jelly Roll. His song Son of a Sinner finally hit number 1 on country radio. It didn't happen overnight. It took nearly a year to climb up the charts, but it got there, and it meant everything. The song wasn't just music. It was his story. It was about struggle, pain, and trying to do better. It was real. People felt it. That's why it also landed at number 31 on the Billboard Hot 100 and went platinum. Selling over 1 million copies, for Jelly Roll this moment was personal. All his life, people told him he didn't belong. He was a rapper with tattoos and a criminal past, not exactly what country radio usually plays. But he didn't listen to the doubt. He made music anyway. When the song finally hit #1, he stood in front of a crowd and said, "Imagine this happening to a guy who grew up in this town. A guy who spent the first 25 years of his life making all the wrong decisions." He wasn't just celebrating a hit song, he was proving that your past doesn't have to decide your future. Jelly Roll's journey in country music has been full of surprises. One of the biggest ones was the connection he made with Brantley Gilbert. They first teamed up in June 2022 on a song called Son of the Dirty South. It blended Jelly Roll's gritty rap style with Brantley's heavy country rock. The result was loud, raw, and different. People didn't know what to expect, but they loved it. That one song started something more. Jelly Roll and Brantley became real friends, not just music partners. Jelly Roll even joked that Brantley is the person he talks to most on the phone besides his wife. Funny. So the two kept writing songs together and decided to hit the road. They launched the Son of the Dirty South Summer Tour, a short 5-show run that started in Jacksonville, Florida, and wrapped up in Brandon, Mississippi. At every stop, fans could feel the energy between them. They weren't just performing, they were having fun, feeding off each other's fire. But they didn't stop there. In 2023, they teamed up again, this time with Struggle Jennings, for a song called Behind Bars. It landed on Jelly Roll's Whitsett Chapel album. That track was like a mix of everything, country, rock, and hip-hop rolled into one. It was bold and honest, just like them. What fans didn't know was that behind the scenes, Jelly Roll and Brantley had started working on something even bigger, a joint EP. Quietly, since 2023, they'd been writing track after track together. By 2024, Brantley said they had enough songs ready to go. If they release it, it might shake things up in country music, because it's not just country anymore. It's a mix of sounds, stories, and styles. It's everything Jelly Roll stands for: breaking rules, telling the truth, and doing it his way. Jelly Roll had a massive year in 2023. On November 8th, something incredible happened. He won new Artist of the Year at the CMA Awards. He was 39, making him one of the oldest people to ever win that award. When he got on stage, he told everyone, "Success is on the other side of it. Keep going, baby." You could feel how much it meant to him. And just when it seemed like the perfect moment, he dropped the award backstage. It shattered. But instead of getting mad, he laughed. Later on TV, he joked that the broken trophy was just like his life, messy but real. That same year, his album Whitsett Chapel came out on June 2nd. It wasn't just any album, it was personal. The title came from a church he went to as a kid. Every track had a piece of his story. There were 13 songs, all written by him. Big names joined in too: Brantley Gilbert, Lainey Wilson, and Yelawolf. The album didn't just touch hearts, it smashed records. It debuted at number 3 on the Billboard 200 and number 2 on the Top Country Albums chart. That's huge for a debut country album. A lot of the songs were about faith and second chances. One reason was his daughter Bailey. She had just chosen to get baptized, and that really moved him. It inspired songs like Halfway to Hell and Dancing with the Devil. Critics praised the album for how real and emotional it felt. But Jelly Roll wasn't stopping there. His 2023 Backroad Baptism tour took things to another level. He performed in 44 cities, and every show felt like a big party. What made the tour special was the mix of music. He didn't just stick to country. He brought in Chase Rice, El King, and even 3-6 Mafia. And when he played at Nashville's Bridgestone Arena, over 18,000 people showed up. It was completely sold out. Then, as fans were still catching their breath, Jelly Roll announced more big plans. In 2024, he was heading to Canada. But the real shocker came when he said he'd be doing a stadium tour with Post Malone in 2025. A country singer and a pop-rap superstar on the same stage. That doesn't happen often. It proved something important. Jelly Roll isn't just crossing genre lines, he's smashing them. Jelly Roll hit rock bottom on August 17th, 2022. He stepped on a scale and saw the number, 563. That was his weight, 563 pounds. He had been eating more than 10,000 calories a day. It wasn't just overeating, it was a way to cope. He would sit alone, eat entire pizzas, and watch TV for hours. On January 5, 2025, he talked about it during an interview. He confessed to hiding snacks on his tour bus just so he could eat in secret when everyone else was asleep. But the scariest moment came on March 3, 2023. That day he ate 37 chicken wings, 2 large pizzas, and drank a full gallon of soda. Later, his chest started to hurt so badly that he ended up in the hospital. That moment shook him. He realized something had to change. He got a therapist who specialized in food addiction. He also found a nutritionist. But his battle with food wasn't new. Back in October 2021, he once ate a wedding cake made for 200 people. He ate it in just 2 days. Afterward, he said the guilt made him feel sick to his stomach. Then came January 15, 2024. He stood on stage at the Bridgestone Arena in Nashville. 20,000 fans were there. He stopped singing in the middle of the show and looked out at the crowd. "I'm tired of being the fat guy in country music," he said. "Tonight, I'm making a promise to all of you and to myself that by this time next year, I'll be half the man I am today." The crowd cheered, but they didn't know how serious he was. The next morning, he went all in. He didn't just hire one trainer. He hired 3, 1 for strength, 1 for cardio, and 1 for recovery. He brought on 4 nutritionists. He added a sleep expert and even a hypnotherapist. His mansion turned into a gym. He built a basketball court, an Olympic pool, and a giant sauna that could fit his whole band. He even changed his diet in a way that felt personal. He called it the Nashville Hot Chicken Diet. Instead of greasy fried chicken, his chefs made it with lean turkey breast and bold spices. It had 75% fewer calories. He ate that 5 times a day along with low-carb veggies and protein shakes that tasted like sweet tea. His workouts were intense. Every day started at 4:30 in the morning. He walked 5 miles around his property. Sometimes fans waiting outside joined him. By 7 o'clock he was in the pool swimming laps. Then came basketball drills, an hour and a half. Afternoons were for weights and cardio. Nights ended with yoga and meditation. Even when he went on tour, he didn't stop. He had a treadmill on the bus, and walked the same number of miles as the distance between cities. He took things even further with extreme temperature therapy. He bought a cryo chamber for $500,000. 3 times a day he stood in it for 3 minutes at -230 degrees. After that, he sat in a sauna heated to 220 degrees for 20 minutes. He believed it helped him burn 3,000 extra calories a day. Some doctors warned it might be risky, but he kept going. And he didn't hide any of it. He posted everything online, weigh-ins, progress photos, blood tests, it was all there. On March 3, 2024, he uploaded a video of himself wearing jeans from high school. He broke down crying. That video exploded, over 50 million views in one day. It started something called the Jelly Roll Challenge. Fans everywhere joined in, posting their own stories and goals. By June 2024, just 6 months into his journey, Jelly Roll had already lost 150 pounds. It wasn't just the number that shocked people, it was how fast and how deep the change ran. His body had changed so much that he had to cancel tour dates. He needed new stage clothes. He had to redo his photos. But the change wasn't only on the outside, it was inside too. Over 500,000 people joined his Facebook support group, hoping to follow his path. He began to understand why he struggled with food for so long. It wasn't just bad habits or willpower. The same brain patterns that made him crave drugs were now triggered by binge eating. Diets never work because they didn't deal with the real issue. Once he saw that, everything changed. He stopped treating his eating and addiction as 2 separate problems. Instead, he worked with specialists who helped him look at the full picture. therapy became his anchor. Since September 2022, he had gone to therapy 5 times a week. That's more than 500 hours of digging into old pain and facing hard truths. In March 2023, during a special therapy session, a buried memory of abuse came back. It was painful, but it helped him understand where some of his wounds came from. Around the same time, he also joined Overeaters Anonymous. He went to meetings 3 times a week, showing up even when it wasn't easy. Then came July 2023. He went to a 72-hour retreat in the Mojave Desert. For the first 2 days, there was no food, just deep emotional work. He started to see how certain relationships had hurt him, and that helped him make some tough decisions. He didn't stop exploring new methods. He tried horse therapy. He used hypnosis. He even joined sessions that used psychedelics under professional care. One session helped him forgive his father, someone he hadn't talked to in 15 years. That session led to a reunion, something he later spoke about in an interview, voice trembling with emotion. In early 2024, Jelly Roll decided he needed calm before chaos. He added a meditation pod to his tour bus. Before every show, he would sit for 30 minutes and breathe. This wasn't just a wellness trend. In February 2024, he'd had a panic attack on stage. He had to walk off mid-show. After that, meditation became non-negotiable. He also turned to music in a new way, not to make hits but to release emotion. He wrote every single day. By the end, he had over 300 pieces. Maybe not all of them will be released, but each one helped him heal. Physical change didn't stop with the weight loss. In September 2023, he began training in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. It wasn't just exercise, it was control. It was learning how to hold back, how to focus. By the end of 2024, he earned a blue belt. He even used some of the moves on stage, not to show off, but to remind himself how far he'd come. He also turned to extreme temperature therapy. 3 times a week, he moved from freezing cryotherapy to a hot sauna. It helped him sleep better and feel more grounded. He believed in it so much, he spent $500,000 on a mobile cryosa so he could take it on tour. Through all of it, Jelly Roll stayed open about his mental health. In April 2024, during a major interview, he talked about having borderline personality disorder. He said it had hurt his relationships. It had hurt his career. And in a quiet moment, he admitted he had considered suicide earlier that year. On a podcast in August 2024, he shared more. He spoke about the painful memories that therapy had brought up and how facing them saved him. After the episode, fans flooded him with messages, not just praise, but stories, struggles, cries for help. And that might be the most powerful part of his journey. He didn't just change his life, he gave others the courage to start changing theirs.